솔직히 얘기해 봅시다. 일 안 해도 잘 먹고 잘 살면은 우린 다 리조트에 누워서 먹고 마시고 있겠죠?
돈 많은 백수가 되고 싶다는 생각이 지배적이다.
Teenage girls, if they have a free Saturday afternoon, they like to walk around in the shopping mall rather than going to the library. So I found that very thought-provoking because I think that many people, and I would have to include myself, believe that deep down, what we all really want is material comfort for ourselves. We may make an effort and go to the library to vote, go to work, or even visit a sick friend or say a friendly word to someone who is in trouble. But what we really would like to do is sit on a big, comfortable sofa and watch an entertaining program on a big, beautiful television set, and maybe have somebody bring us some hot fudge sundaes, or that this is what I'm really like, what everyone is really like. Selfish and really seeking material comfort. And that is human nature. That is bedrock human nature. And I think a lot of our political attitudes come from the fact that we think we can never get away from that. That's what we are. Now, do you share that view?
Not in the least. And I think there's plenty of evidence against it. There has been a massive effort for over 100 years to try to convince people that that's what we are. It's called advertising. It's a huge industry. It's dedicated explicitly, openly, to trying to, you read the business press 100 years ago, and it's taking off to try to direct people to the superficial things of life, like fashionable consumption. Get them out of our hair by getting them involved in consumption. And huge efforts go into this. For example, about 20 or 30 years ago, the advertising industry realized that there's a sector of the population that they're not reaching because they don't have money, known as children. So, and some bright guys figured, well, we can get around this. The children don't have money, but their parents do. So what we have to do is direct television programs for children and so on to try to induce what's called nagging. Try to get this is literally the case, create nagging propaganda. I mean, I remember the first baseball game I went to was in the 1930s. There were no ads anywhere. Now every inch is an ad. Every taxi cab you look at is an ad. Every minute of your life is inundated with efforts to turn you into the kind of person you're describing. So is that human nature? I don't think so.
아무것도 안 해도 돈 받으면 최고겠다.
And I think ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income. I don't think we're going to have a choice.
So it means that unemployed people will be paid across the globe.
Yeah.
Because there is no job, machine, robot is taking over.
There will be fewer and fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better. Now, the output of goods and services will be extremely high. So with automation, there will come abundance. There will be almost everything will get very cheap. I think I think we'll just end up doing a universal basic income. It's going to be necessary. The harder challenge, much harder challenge, is how do people then have meaning? Like a lot of people, they derive their meaning from their employment. So if you don't have, if you're not needed, if there's not a need for your labor, what's the meaning? Do you have meaning? Do you feel useless? That's a much harder problem to deal with.
일을 해야만 할까?
So take a look at these Trump voters again. Say these working class people in, say, rural towns, manufacturing towns in Arkansas, and take a listen to what they're saying. These are people men who want to work in coal mines, which is not fun, rather than to take a government handout. They don't want to sit on the couch and being given a government handout. That undermines their sense of dignity, of self-worth, of doing something significant, and I think that's what people are. You go back further, there's plenty of evidence for it. There's a wonderful study, a huge study of the reading habits of the British working class in the late 19th century. Jonathan Rose, very detailed study. What were British workers reading? Turns out they were better educated than the aristocrats. In, say, eastern Massachusetts, Boston, an Irish blacksmith, if he could make enough money, would hire a boy to read to him while he's working. I mean, I can remember this from childhood. In the 1930s, most of my family were for immigrants, first generation unemployed working class. They're quite educated. Many of them didn't go to school, maybe fourth grade, but they read, they went to concerts, they went to Shakespeare plays, they talked about it, they were interested in politics. I think it's taken huge efforts to try to drive all of this out of people's heads. I think the natural thing for humans is to want to be independent, creative, whether creative, maybe you work on fixing up old cars in your garage on the weekend instead of sitting and watching television, whatever it may be.
그래도 욕망을 부정할 순 없다.
난 저기 모히또 와가지고 몰디브나 한잔 하려니까.
Mojito Island is a mirage. It always was. There is no retirement for ambitious people. There is no just sitting back on the beach and sipping a mojito for what? For 2 weeks before you go damn crazy and want to get back into the action? That's exactly what happens to most people who have the capacity to build those kinds of exits. I've never seen, I shouldn't say never, I've almost never seen anyone be able to pull that off. Yet so many think that that's why they're doing it. That's why they're sacrificing everything. Because once I get to the finish line, I'm golden, I've won, I can retire, I can sit back, I can just relax. And you find out that that kind of relaxation is actually hell.
Yeah.
It's hell for creative people to squander their God-given creative juices and capacities. Why are some people happy? When are they happy? And what he learned was quite illuminating. He learned that people aren't happy when they sit on Mojito Island. They're not happy when they're free of all obligations and responsibilities. No, they're happy in these moments where they're reaching and stretching their capacities just beyond what they can currently do. In those moments of flow, they can forget time and space. They can sit in front of the keyboard, program a hard problem, think 20 minutes have passed, and suddenly it's been 3 hours. They look back upon those moments with the greatest amount of joy, and that is what peak happiness is. If you take away the pursuit of those kinds of problems, if you eliminate all the problems from your plate, you're going to get depressed. You're not going to have a good time. Now, there are people who can do that, but they're not the same kind of people who build these kinds of companies. So you have to accept the kind of individual you are. If you are on this path, don't bullshit yourself. Don't bullshit yourself into thinking, I'm just going to sacrifice everything, my health, my family, my hobbies, my friends. But in 10 years, I'm going to make it all up.
Most people, by this account, really have been unnaturally squashed into being something much, much smaller than they could be or than they should be.
And want to be.
And want to be.
There's a very lively working class press, a lot of it written by young women from the farms called factory girls who ran their own newspapers, and the material, there's a lot of material on it. It's pretty interesting. What they wanted was dignity. They hated the industrial system because it was destroying their rights as independent people. They attacked what sometimes they called the slogan, they denounced the slogan, gain wealth, forgetting all but self. In other words, the kind of person that you think we all are, that we're taught we all are, that's what they were condemning. We don't want to just gain wealth, forgetting all but self. We want dignified, independent lives. And these are themes that run right through the spontaneous productions of mostly uneducated working class, what we call uneducated working class people. It was the same in England before us. I think it's the same elsewhere. I just don't think people are, when you talk about human nature, I think we're talking about something that's constructed and contrived with enormous effort, conscious effort in the television industry. There's huge efforts to try to create irrational consumers, uninformed consumers making irrational choices, to undermine market economies, and to turn people into people who may even believe that what they want is to sit on a couch and watch television. That's not what they want.